Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your co-host, Steve Stefano Mancini, and now back from his brief hiatus is my co-host, Claudio Rialsona. Claudio, welcome to the show again.
It's good to be back, and it was a little bit of a tough time, but I'm back at it, almost 100%. But,
I was worried. I was like, oh,
I was
man.
too.
I just got the guy back, and he leaves me. It's like, damn it, was it something I said again?
No, everything's good. Everything's good. But
No.
I appreciate everybody asking about it.
By the way, I do want to bring up, because, I don't know, we haven't been on the show since the Columbus Day Parade.
Right.
And, saw you there. Had a good time. What'd you think of the parade?
You know what? It was one of the bigger ones. This is my third one that I've been a part of, and it seems like it's growing, which is good, ever since COVID and all the other stuff. But it was really nice to see everybody there and all the participants.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think? When you say growing, because it's an interesting question, because did you think it was growing from the people watching it or the people participating in it?
Both.
Okay.
Both. There was so many people. There was people there who participated that I'm friends with that I didn't even know were there because you were either way ahead or way behind.
I tell you what, participation-wise, I did think it was a nice. Ed and the folks, they did a great job of just lining up the guests. I thought that was very nice.
And for me, as I've talked about it numerous times, I'm very honored and flattered to be asked to be a part of it, but my parents would have really enjoyed that and took pride in that. So it was special to me.
No,
when
it's
I get asked to do
fantastic.
something
And in
like
fact,
that.
our guest today he was at the Columbus Day Parade, and we're going to bring him on in a second. But Claudio, I just want to mention this because it's kind of important for us. Sponsorships matter. We're not big time. 20 million viewers. So I think, maybe we can take a second just to thank our latest sponsor.
Oh, yeah, Ralph Williams.
A shout out.
Ralph Williams, who is the host of Sports Corner, along with Smokin' Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, and myself on 1250 AM The Answer, 92.5 FM The Answer. It's a great show. It's a fun show. And Ralph does another show with mayoral candidate Tony Moreno on 1250 AM The Answer, 92.5 AM, FM, The Answer. So Ralph's a good guy. We do a lot of shows together, and he's very passionate about his work. And he's another guy who he lets it out there, and he's a lot of fun to work with. And
he's not bashful about letting you know what he's thinking.
He's not bashful, that's for sure.
There's no I wonder what Ralph's thinking.
No, that's why we're going to have a disclaimer. How does that? What do they say? The thoughts and views of
do not represent anyone else in the room or in society.
Right. Just Ralph's. Yeah, just Ralph's. But he's a good man.
All right. Speaking of good men, we got a wonderful guest, Claudia. Bring him in.
You know what? I've known this guy for maybe about a month and a half, something like that. And I got to be honest with you, he is a really good guy. He's a really good man, good father, good husband, very successful in business, very successful in politics. But you know what? He's just a nice guy. He's not. How can I put? He's not stuffy. He's not. He's
approachable.
He's very approachable.
Only on Tuesdays.
Hey, who said that? Who said that?
But I really have nothing but nice things to say about him, and it's been great to get to know him and know him more. He is running for the Allegheny County Councilman at Large, and he's also the executive leader and co-owner at Carnegie Robotics. And I'm looking forward to him being on the show, and that's Mike Embrescia. Mike, thank you so much for being on our show.
Oh, boys, thanks for having me. Claudia, that's probably the nicest introduction I've ever received. I'm going to have to make sure to send this clip to my wife.
Oh, there
you go. She's going to need to know that there are nice things said about
Hey, Mike,
nice.
Hey, let me tell you something. If that check don't clear, wait till you hear the next episode.
And I don't pass along compliments too easy, trust me. No, you deserve
man,
it.
It was that was sweet, and right back at you, brother.
Thank you.
You just know whenever you meet folks, and you just know when you have a connection with people, and certainly that's with you. I think we met through the Italian Sports Hall of Fame.
We met through that, and then we were right next to each other. You had an event at the Swickley Hotel where you were speaking,
that's correct.
But I didn't know it was you. We were talking. You
Yeah.
were right next to me, and we just kind of talked a little bit, and all of a sudden they announced you, and you walked up there. I said, "Damn, that's the guy I was just talking to," because we were texting. We were texting.
Yes, we were. We were texting.
I was like, what are you wearing? I'm wearing a red. Wait a minute. I'm wearing a red carnation. Hey, wait a minute.
I actually wasn't even. I had no idea I was speaking at that event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was, hey, get up here, meet a bunch of people. For the campaign, Jason Ritchie, who's the chair of the Republican committee for the county, Allegheny County, he said, hey, come on up there, whatever. And they said some nice things and said, come on up here. And And I went up there off the cuff. But as with most things, I speak out, from the heart. I don't have a script. I probably get, I don't probably, I do get beat up for it. But I just go right what's on my mind and right from the heart. That's the disclosure that your previous friend, that's me too.
And since you said that, I got to do a plug for my book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. You can get that at ClaudioRelsano.com, all sold out at Barnes & Noble. But that title, my mom used to say, Mike, never speak from the neck up, speak from the heart up. And they used to say Roberto Clemente, he couldn't order a cup of coffee without ordering it with passion. So, that's why I said that's one of the things that it struck me about you and that I admire about you is that you're not canned, you're not overproduced, it's not fake. And I think people are going to see that the more they hear you and see you.
I'll tell you this. You didn't ask, but be careful. Don't answer the unasked question. I could tell you that. So I'm not going to get political. But there's 15 council people, and there's 13 Democrats and 2 Republicans. I'm the Republican at large. So as it stands here today, I'm actually the highest ranking Republican in our county government, in our local government, if you can believe it. And when I was appointed in February, there was this, oh God, here comes the guy, here comes the cowboy. What's going to happen, especially in these volatile times? Mm-hmm. I could tell you with certainty that probably 11 of the 13 Democrats on council would stand right beside me and endorse me because we found a way to work together, collaboration, consensus, damn near camaraderie, believe it or not. And it's the old Reagan Tip O'Neill thing. It's, beat the crap out of each other, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But after 6 p.m., celebrate with each other, celebrate your region, celebrate your constituency. How can you make it better? And we've made it work. Politics works. That's the way it should work. So I attribute that. People ask, like, why? You got a company, you got a family. Like, why? How is it? What is it? People have gotten to know me, even some of the more aggressive people away from my party who I've become really good friends with. And it's because of my family. It's my upbringing. It's that, my father's Sicilian, my mother's Calabrese. Their parents came over. I was born in Cleveland and grew up primarily in Erie and Cleveland because my parents divorced. So I lived on I-90 and the lakefront, right? I just went back and forth. And having those roots of just no nonsense, no BS, I think that's really led to my success in business and now politics. And I'm sure y'all can probably touch on that, right? You wrote a book about it, and I think it's very real, don't you think?
It is, and again, the Italians say the fish stinks from the head, o pisce puzza da capo, but it also can smell good from the head. So I'm a big believer, and again, I said this years ago at this awards thing, I said, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, he didn't get there alone. So talk about your parents, your family, your upbringing. Was your Italian heritage celebrated? And really, what were the, I don't want to say rules, but what were the things that they pushed on you so you could be the success you are today?
Yeah, we're always trying to achieve more success and just be better. I'm just trying to be a better husband, a better father, a better manager. People say, "Oh, you're a leader." I'm not a leader. I mean, it's the people that make you the leader, right? I just try to be a good manager and give people resources to be successful and get out of their way. And a lot of that was, my upbringing. It was, learn how to delegate and just let people be free and do their thing and, set the bar. And then make sure that you check in, the milestones that we call it along the way. So yes, it was celebrated. My great-grandfather started a chain of import food stores. He actually started a bakery in Cleveland. And then it's expanded to about 8 import food stores. So we have PenMac here in Pittsburgh. We had about 8 of those little stores throughout Cleveland.
Wow.
And that's what I grew up in. I grew up in that environment. My father was born deaf, so he could hear through, big old hearing aids, but he was born deaf. And he didn't really get past the 8th or 9th grade, and grew up in the business. He's a baker by trade. So I grew up in that environment, hanging out at the commercial baking facility, but then also driving the trucks and going to the stores. And these were all import food stores with a hot foods counter. My grandmother worked behind the hot foods counter. So I could tell you anything you need to know about fried smelts and, veal parm and grinder sandwiches that I still make to this day. And then my grandfather was in the basement making party trays and, making the signs for the storefront, right? Like that's the world I grew up in. And, it wasn't uncommon that if myself or a sibling didn't finish their plate on Sunday dinner, my grandmother would start crying. I mean, it doesn't get any more Italian than that.
That's for sure.
You're killing me.
I'm sure.
You're killing me.
Yeah. I mean, really, you don't love me, and so, being a child of divorce, my parents divorced when I was 3. My mom moved back to her hometown of Erie, and my father stayed in Cleveland, but they've gotten along to this day wonderfully, and it's all about the values of the family. That's what it is. We break bread. We still have dinner together multiple times a year. They all come to my house, and we all eat dinner together.
That's
But
nice.
I think if you ask about what is it about our heritage, it's a lot of our family came over here with nothing, and I think that also pushes my politics a bit too. But our family came out with nothing. They worked damn hard. Nothing was given. It was entirely earned, and to hold on to those traditions, if I'm going for Christmas Eve, you better believe I know what the menu's going to be. And it's usually a toss-up as to, oh, gosh, what's going to be the 6th or 7th fish this year? Because there's always a surprise. And then, of course, there's those years where, maybe Aunt so-and-so or this relative gets a little lazy and just, mails it in with, a shrimp cocktail or something, right?
Store-bought, just to make it even more insulting.
Yeah. So I'm in that phase right now, guys, where I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter, and I got to tell you, I haven't made, sauce or any of this stuff, but I'm getting that itch where myself and my brother-in-law especially, but, boys are starting to make bread on Sundays, and given the weirdness of my schedule, I am craving to get back to that, where my daughters can witness what I witnessed. Wake up Sunday morning and you're smelling fried meatballs. I want them, to have the mischievous and quite frankly, the criminal behavior of stealing said meatballs before they go in the sauce, right? I want them to do what I did.
Mike, let me ask you about. You kind of brought up you're sort of describing the servant leadership model in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You say, I'm not a leader. I manage, but I give my people the tools and I support them. I do want to, I mean, the show, Claudia and I have had this discussion, the show isn't just Italian, but it's Italian. And there are certain things that every culture is known for. Just you grow up in a certain area, they're going to behave a certain way, and you're going to pass those behaviors down. A lot of what you are clearly is the result of your parents and your grandparents passing that down. Are there things that you are specifically saying, I don't want to lose this, and I want to make sure that my kids have that you've been passed down?
Yeah, it's a lot. I think I struggle with this a little bit, to be quite frank. Sometimes my heritage, I think, makes me, let me answer it this way. I get asked often, what's your greatest strength? And it's, I put a lot of passion, I put emotion into, my positions and my, and my opinions and my appeals. And then I get often asked, okay, well, what's your greatest weakness? I go, it's the fact that I put all my emotion into everything, right? It's my weakness and it's my blessing and my curse all wrapped up into one. In the business world, you have to remove emotion. And earlier in my career, I was not good at that. And I've evolved over time. Sometimes, but not to the point where people can say, "Oh my God, he's cold as ice." He's an assassin in business. He'll come through here. He'll chop your throat. No, I can't, because that's not who I am. I'm not wired that way. If I tried to be that way, people would call it out. It's phony. So don't be that guy. I look at it with my kids, and I coach kindness above all else, right? Kindness, warmness. I'm a sap. I'm a sentimental guy. I'll cry at a commercial, with dogs in it. My wife looks at me. She's a lot tougher than I am, and my wife is actually, I want you to picture this. Close your eyes and make the sign of the cross. She's half Sicilian and half Syrian. So,
interesting.
She's an angry woman. But no,
don't play this part.
Wonderful.
Don't play this part of the podcast for her. I'm not editing it, but you might not want to play it.
No, she's brilliant. She's brilliant and beautiful, and she's a physician.
He's getting her good graces back, Claudio.
That's it.
Too late, buddy. Too late.
I'm climbing out. But that's what's led my career, and I try to instill that upon my children. I'll give you a quick example where this can sometimes bite you in the rear. I attribute this to my culture, to our culture. I'm like the Reagan trust but verify, but sometimes I trust a little too much early on. And, there was a parade this last year, and I was with one of my colleagues, and we were talking about life, and we were talking about family, and we had a very bad relationship before. We ran against each other. We were opponents. And, but then we bonded, and we started talking about things important to us and the family. And where I come from, that means you're building something, right? And, 2 weeks later, I have an opponent in a race that's the most highly touted, tumultuous race probably in recent history in our county. And it's this guy who's spearheading the whole thing. And I struggle with that. Like, wait a minute. And I said, I opened my freaking heart to you. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but it was glass. It's like, it doesn't matter. This is the business of politics. This is a nasty business. Buckle up. I attribute that to my culture, and that's that trust that sometimes I still have to monitor.
Well, I want to chime in on that because you know what? Interesting that you say I am exactly like you. I will trust too soon, and I will pour my passion into my positions on how I feel on things, and that burns you. But what I think it does do, and you can tell me if you agree with this, because you're right. I'm learning how to almost, I don't want to say be cold, but I have to learn how to, just be like, no, yes, and cut out and almost, I don't want to say cut out the emotion because it's just who we are it's not who I am as a person. It sounds like it's who you are as a person. So I can't not be myself. At the same time, when you're yourself, to your point, your passion means you care. If you're not passionate, I mean, and there's a difference between real passion and fake passion. And therein is, without beating up politicians too much, that's a lot of the fakeness that you see, and people can see that a mile away. I used to coach sports, and I would go in there and I would just yell at the kids, but it wasn't a fake yell. Believe me, I wasn't dropping F-bombs in hockey to be pretend. It's because I was pissed off at the kids and they were going to hear about it.
Yeah.
But then I would see coaches try to do that, and people pick it up so quickly. But to your point, it burns you because then you're like, this guy, he can't be that bad. And you open up to him, and the next thing you know, everything you said can and will be used against you. So let me ask you, though. And so you're like, then you have to ask yourself, do I keep being the person I am, or do I say I can't be the person I am and be in this field? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, boy, did you summarized it perfectly, and we are aligned very much. I think similar vein, right? I think what I'd say also, this is another blessing or curse thing where, you know what? I gave you the first straw. I gave you a lot. I trusted a lot. You compromised that trust for your own benefit and candidly your own enjoyment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to achieve the task that's before me. But I also think probably somewhat of a curse of what I was born with is once we overcome a hurdle, watch out. Just watch out because it's not going to be pretty. You have now put a mark on yourself. Not in a violent way. I'm not suggesting that, but just.
But you are Sicilian, so we have to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to hurt you physically, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that you don't do that to somebody again.
Right.
That you don't try to take advantage of somebody like that again.
But I don't.
But it's not going to be for my enjoyment. It's going to be out of principle.
Right. And as I won't apologize for who I am because it's who I am. And if you want to just, like you said, you want to open up to someone thinking, hey, they're compassionate, and everyone's like, oh, this guy, he loves dog commercials. It's like, you know what? I do.
Yeah.
I'm not insecure enough in who I am. And then and again, they're in the fakeness between what I see in public and what I see in private. And I'll be honest with you, I do think that is why I'm trying to be apolitical here, but I think that is why people are so frustrated with leadership, because there's too much do as I say, not as I do. But I think when people lead to Claudio's book, from the heart up, and you say that's really who that person is, that's what people will either love you or they will hate you. And again, I'll use the president as the perfect example. Why do people love him? Because he's not apologizing for what he's saying. I'm not saying you got to agree with it.
I think with him, along with everything else, it's more the media. The
Oh,
media
sure.
controls everything.
Absolutely.
And people, but
there are certain things you can't deny, though, either. Like, when I say something, I said it, or I didn't say
it's
it.
investigating for yourself and seeing if this is true. But to kind of chime into what you guys have been saying, I used to be the nicest guy in the world. I really was. And I've changed because I'm a part of all that I have met, as they say. But here's what I've done, Mike and Steve, and this is just what I tell my daughter. Yeah, I think you have to have a dial, but I use it this way. If it's hot out, you wear a T-shirt. If it's cold, you wear a jacket. If it's raining, you put up an umbrella. In other words, whatever the situation calls for, you have to be. I think there's different times you have to. It depends who you're dealing with. I've dealt with some people who have been wonderful with me. I've had some people that even now I have some people who want to backstab the hell out of me. And I know that. And I'm not going to treat them kindly. I'm not going to be, as the Italian, my dad taught me about soft dirt, hard dirt. You get a shovel, you dig somewhere hard, you're going to do it one time, maybe twice if you're an idiot. If it's soft, you're going to keep digging. So I think, I tell my team all the time, I'm the nicest guy in the world, but don't cross me. Because I'm not going to put up with it. But I think that's, the world is crazy. It's competitive, which is fine. But sometimes they want to see you fail. I've had as wonderful as my parents were, unbelievably wonderful. I can't say one negative thing about my parents, but I've also had some family members who wanted to see me fail. And and they motivated me. But like an idiot, for years, I still tried to please them. I loved them, and they just kept hitting me until finally in 2016. That's how long it took me. I got rid of some of them in 2005. I got rid of the rest of them in 2016. But anyway, so when it's hot out, wear a shirt, T-shirt. When it's cold, put on a jacket. When it's raining, put up an umbrella. So whatever the weather is, whatever the people are, it's up to them. If they're nice, you be nice. If they're not so nice, I'm not going to be nice. But anyway.
By the way, that's something that's true in Italy. If people, when you go there, and if you say buongiorno and you try and be kind, they are the nicest people in the world. Go be rude to them.
Hey, real quick, Mike, you'll like this. My dad, there was this one guy, I'm talking about in the 30s. Matter of fact, his name was Uncle Mike, so Michaela. So if you say hello, if you say to him, have a good day, he would say, stessa tia, same to you. If you say to him, have a good night, stessa tia. So my dad used to say to him, Uncle Mike, why is it that every time somebody, if they say Happy Easter to you, you just say, same to you? Hey, Mike, Merry Christmas, same to you. He said, because if they say to me, I want you to actually have a nice Easter, I want you to have a nice Easter. But if they want me to break my neck on Easter, then I want you to break your neck on Easter. So
don't confuse my kindness for weakness.
Exactly.
Don't ever do that thing.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what? A good summary to this whole dialogue, to this particular thread is: Do you remember the those commercials, the most interesting man in the world?
Oh, of course. I thought about that commercial the other day, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. That guy was a stud, just a stud. Loved him. And my father-in-law and I joke about this one.
Uh-huh.
There was one that he said, I saw it only a couple of times, and he goes, find out what it is in life that you don't do so well, and don't do that thing.
Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
Oh, I tell you what, I apply that to so much, and I say that in my office all the time. I go, you know what, Kenny? Find out what it is in life that you don't do so well. Don't do that thing.
All right, Mike, we're going to take a quick break. We have more questions for you, and one of them is going to be the 17-year-old Mike Embrescia. But as I mentioned earlier, the Ralph Williams Show, Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on 1250 AM The Answer, 92.5 FM The Answer, along with Smokin' Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree Jr., and myself. It's a great, fun show, and it's different than the other sports shows. Trust me, the decibel level changes. And my show, the Claudio Relsano Show, which you can hear on ClaudioRelsano.com. I've had such great guests as Steve Mancini, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Mario Andretti, Ken Griffey Sr., Rocky Blyer, Sid Bream, Dick Vermeil, Roman Gabriel, God rest his soul, Al Oliver. I've had a lot of great guests on. And now I'm kind of switching. I'm still going to be interviewing some named people like that, and hopefully we'll have Mike Embrescia on. Matter of fact, I may even put this show on that show, changing it to or adding more of an entrepreneurial program to it. So that's been going well. And finally, my book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up, How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. You can get that at my website at ClaudioRelsano.com.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now, enjoying the experience.
Andiamo!
Tune in to Sports Corner, hosted by Ralph Williams, along with Claudio Relsano, Smokin' Jim Frazier, and Luther Dupree Jr. every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on 1250 AM The Answer, 92.5 FM The Answer.
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about the Vietnam War? The Hardest Year, a love story and letters during the Vietnam War, is an accurate portrayal of what life was like during the 1960s, the time of the draft, equal rights, and the anti-war movement. Follow newlyweds through their letters as they navigate 1 year of the war an ocean apart. The Hardest Year by Carol and William Wagner is available now wherever books are sold. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074.
Tune into the Ralph Williams and Tony Moreno Show every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., and every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on 1250 AM The Answer, 92.5 FM The Answer. Okay, Mike, we're back, and as I said before the commercial break, I'm always interested to know, like I did a speech the other day at West Allegheny High School for 11th graders and 12th graders, and some know what they want to do, some don't. But tell me about the 17-year-old Mike Embrescia. What were his goals, his dreams, and tell us that.
I could tell you that I was fresh off of obtaining my stepfather's father's car, which was an 85 Pontiac Bonneville. And whatever money I scraped together, I got to put a nice sound system in it.
There you go.
That was
a Sparkomatic? Remember those?
No, I don't.
Oh, wow.
That's
I'm
a
1982. I was 17 in 82. All right, go ahead.
I was 17 in 96. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Mike at 17 was working in an Italian pizza shop, Spada's Pizza. I was delivering with that nice new fancy car that was old. So I'd spin up some pizza and pastas and all that, and then I'd get in my car and I'd, go around. This was before really cell phones, right? There certainly wasn't a Google going on, or internet, or emails, so I didn't have GPS on my phone. So this was, harken back to that time. Big old map. If you've ever worked in a restaurant, get the big cooler, and you're traipsing in and out with the dough and the sauces and the cheeses and everything. On the side of the cooler, you have a map of your city, and that's how you memorized where the hell you were going to drop this thing off. Right?
I don't think kids could get around the block anymore without GPS.
How the hell did we do it?
Yeah.
Make a left at the Sunoco, then turn right at the supermarket.
Yeah, and you're on the phone. The phone's got a cord. You're like, wait, you mean you're 4 houses past the BP? So that was Mike at 17. A lot of hangouts with the friends. I was playing football at McDowell High School in Erie, Pennsylvania. So that summer of two-a-days, and what's weird, because you guys are sports guys, I presume here, and that was near and around the time where national exposure was really heightened about dehydration on the field. You remember that period?
Of course.
When there was bad stuff happening with kids, high school kids, college kids, not being well hydrated and passing out. A couple kids passed away, sadly. And so I remember, just like it was yesterday, the training crew, our trainers, these were the kids that would come out, tape your ankles and all that stuff before you went out to practice. I showed up one day at practice, and they had a big pile of lumber that the school facilities guys were bringing out with golf carts. And the trainers, who probably didn't know a hammer from a nail, were putting together a hydration station. And they would put like a hose, like a garden hose that you would buy, and then the players, myself, and a few, like, we'd poke holes in them just so the water would spit out. I'm like, it was a weird time, right? God, you remember that?
I do. Well, when I played, you were not allowed to have water. They'd give you salt pills. I don't know what the hell that was supposed to do.
Toughen you up.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So 17, that would have been 17, working in the pizza shop, probably a little underage drinking here or there, running away from police if they showed up at a house party, in good fun. You lived on Lake Erie, so, you were always putting a bonfire out there, but it wasn't a violent place. It wasn't it was like something you would see in a movie. Like,
sure.
I remember one time, police showed up at a party when I was 17, and the officer's name was Officer Beveridge, and he made me pour out all the beer, and, I'm a talkative guy, so I'm striking up a conversation. He goes, "So your name's Beveridge? Boy, that's cool." And he didn't like that too much. I remember that. So that was 17. Yeah.
I have an
and I know it was
Mike,
it was all about getting ready for college.
Mike, hold on. I got a funny story about that. So I have a friend of mine who is a retired federal air marshal, and he's got a sign. He was a former Pittsburgh police, and he's got a sign in his office that says, "The police don't find it as funny as you do." I thought, wow, is that perfect? Now it makes sense, Mike.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and listen, today I'm coming from the Amen Corner luncheon with all the police, so I was actually messing with a couple of the police guys that I know, and but at any rate, that's a different story.
Were there, what were your goals and dreams, and did you have any role models through the years that motivated you or made you even better? I mean, there's several for me that I talk about all the time, besides my parents.
Yeah, I wanted to go to college, and so when you're 17, September, I turned 18 in January. Going into that was my senior year, so I remember I wanted to go to college. I wanted to go, and that's all I was thinking about was college. That's what you did. You just talked about where are you going? Where are you going to go to college? Where are you going to, And I applied and got into Penn State, John Carroll, Seton Hall, and I didn't even know where Seton Hall was located. I just knew that they won the national championship in basketball, and I'm like, that sounds cool. So I applied there. Hell, I still don't even know where they are. And I got into Dayton, and And I loved Dayton. Loved Dayton. I was going to go to Dayton, come hell or high water. I visited Dayton. Loved it. Got in the car. We drove to Dayton, spent a couple of days. It was like, this is it. Then we went to Ohio State after that because my other buddy was going there. I came home. And then I went to IUP and visited, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. It was fun. It was just, I had a ball. So I'll never forget it. My old man, old school Sicilian guy, he says, hey, where are you going to go to school? I says, I'm going to go to Dayton. Ah, nice. He goes, how far is that from your mom? Now, mind you, my mom was in the area. He goes, how far is that away from your mother? I go, about 5 hours. Oh, great. How much is it a year? I go, it's about 38 grand, something like that. Oh, that's great. He goes, how about that school you went to a couple weeks ago with Danny, my buddy? Oh, IUP. He goes, yeah, you liked it there. Oh my God, Dad. I had a ball. It was so much fun. Great school, beautiful. Oh, great. How far is that from your mother? I go, that's about 2 hours. He goes, how much is that a year? I go, about 8 grand. He goes, so where are you going to school? I goes, I'm going to go to Dayton. He looked at me and he gets real serious. He goes, I don't think you understood the question. I says, I guess I'm going to IUP. And he looks, he goes, that sounds better.
Yeah.
That's how I chose IUP.
Yeah, that's a good way to choose it.
And you want to know something?
me up.
Best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
the
good Lord
decision I
always
ever
puts
made.
people in our lives to guide us. We just have to be paying attention.
Amazing. But, I forgot the question, but
Yeah,
that was
that was
17-year-old
part
Mike.
of it. No,
That was a good
good.
answer, no matter what the
But
question was.
Were there, now you say you wanted to go to college, but what were your dreams and goals? What did you want to do after college?
When I got out, I spent a good bit of time at school, longer than anticipated. So, and that was by my doing. I changed my major a few times, and candidly, I was having some fun. So I was on a 5-year program, and when I got out, I didn't have any dreams. I didn't have any, I went into school thinking I wanted to be a pilot. Like, come on, the hell, I didn't have a lot of that in my life where they were like, you're going to go do this and become a dentist or something. It wasn't that. It was just go, do well, have fun, learn, and then figure it out. And that's what I did.
Real quick, I want to chime in on that because, and I'm just curious, did you, and Clyde, I guess I can ask you this too, do you feel like, is that an Italian thing where they'll kind of push you into a career, or do they not? I'm just curious because I was never pushed into anything either. I just sort of figured it out. I'm curious, both of you.
For me, and everybody's tired of hearing it. August 19th, 1973, I went to my first game. I was 8 years old, and my parents they knew about boxing and soccer. My uncle took me to Three River Stadium. I knew that day what I wanted to do. I came home. My dad said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did." But I want to work in, my exact words were, I want to work in professional baseball. And he said, okay, if that's what you want to do, me and your mom will do everything we can to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true. And I'm getting choked up even now talking about 52 years later.
But he supported you, but he didn't push you.
Both parents. Oh, no, never pushed
And
me.
Mike, what about you? Did your parents kind of push you to your, or
My
they
mom
like
and
you?
dad were just supportive.
Huh, wonder what that's
No,
like.
well, mine was funny. I wanted to go into the family business. I was going to do that. There was nothing that was going to prevent me from doing that. And, I knew that's where my entrepreneurial roots really started to kick up because my father, God bless him, he's not a businessman. He's a handshake deal guy. And, wasn't always known for being that stout business guy. To this day, doesn't have a suit, stuff like that. I remember getting a phone call because I knew I was going to come into the business and I was going to shape it up. All the uncles, the great uncles, they all decided to go out and, kick up some stores. My godfather started a chain of stores, and they all had the name. It was Alessi's, Alesci. And by the way, come full circle moment, meeting Basil Russo and all the folks, they know all my family in Cleveland. They know everybody. And there's some funny stories I could share about that. But back to it, I wanted to go into business because I knew I was one of the first to go away to college. I knew that I had the ability to sink in and just really optimize the operation, make it more efficient, grow it. And I was on the highway coming back from Cleveland because I lived with my father every summer and over holidays. So every summer I'd work with my father in the stores and in the bakery. He had an 80,000 square foot facility for baking alone. And I had a conversation with my mom, and my mom says, I'm sorry to tell you, but you can't go into the business. And my mother, to this day, has only said one thing that I've had such force, and it was that. She goes,
Wow.
I can't allow you to go into the business. Please, I stress to you, don't go into the business. And she had her reasons why. But really, the summary is it's worse than politics. You know, going into a large family business, it is cutthroat. And I think she had enough foresight to see I'm not going to be happy there because I'm going to basically race to mediocrity because that's the all-consuming. You're just too busy fighting with each other as opposed to growing the enterprise. That was just the way of the culture of the time. And I got to tell you, she was right. So I made a shift. I went into finance right when I got out of college. I got out of college and I was serving tables at a banquet hall. And the first job interview I could land, I got the job interview at American Express Financial, and I took the job. It was the very first interview I had. So I didn't have like these heady expectations. I just knew that I wanted to get into something and start cutting my teeth.
By the way, on a comical note, when you said get into the family business and you're using terms like cutthroat, Mike, I just want to mention that you're not playing in any stereotypes. We understood what you meant. And then when your uncle made you an offer you couldn't refuse to go to IUP, again, we know what you meant.
Yeah.
Now tell us about what you do now in the business world, and how did that come about?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So I'm well traveled, I'd say, and I use that to my advantage. Great benefit of having experience in so many different domains, be it finance. And then when I came back to Pittsburgh in '07. We moved to Pittsburgh in '07. We bought a little house in Dormont. A, we wanted to buy a house. B, we wanted to grow equity. And C, it was actually cheaper to have a mortgage than rent in the South Side. So, we bought a little $100,000 house in 2007. My wife went back to school for medicine. And then I went to get my MBA. Came out, worked in green building briefly, and then mainly was my main objective was to get into commercial real estate development, and I did. I was with Burns and Scalo. Jimmy Scalo brought me in, and I was his head of BD. So he took a chance on me, took a flyer on me, and took a young guy and helped develop me. And I did that for many years. Had a startup, and it wasn't until I knew around 2018, 2019 that the hockey puck was going towards robotics and tech. And there was two companies I wanted to work for. And thankfully, one of them hired me. And it was an 8-month courting period at Carnegie Robotics. Carnegie Robotics is one of the nation's earliest robotics companies. It's one of the first in Pittsburgh. It was about 4 or 5 robotics companies in Pittsburgh when we were founded. Today, there's over 120 robotics companies in Pittsburgh alone. On our damn street, they call it Robotics Row in the media, right? And I was honored to jump on board, and there wasn't a job application. There wasn't a resume exchange. There wasn't, you know what it was? It was, you know what? We've done our diligence on you. A lot of people know you. A lot of people like you. You're a man of your word. And we've never had somebody to just focus on business and business development and where are we going as a company. And I jumped on board as the chief development officer. We made up the title. And over time, I became a full-blown owner in the company.
That's great. Now,
kind of weird how that goes.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's whatever's meant to be, right? But now, finally, Mike, tell us about the upcoming election and what you're trying to win and
I think why. Yeah. I think why would be good.
Why? Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So, the role of Allegheny County Councilman is a very unique role. So you remember, in years past we had the commissioner system, right? The 3 commissioner system. And in the mid 90s, they went to home rule charter where they got rid of the 3 commissioners and they went to the county executive role, where you'd have a county executive and you would have 15 council people. 13 of those 15 would oversee what's called a district, the district of, Hampton and Fox Chapel and Aspinwall, right? Smaller districts of 90,000, 100,000 people. But 2 of the 15 would be considered at large. At large being the whole county. There's a Republican typically, and there's a Democrat. And so my role is as the at-large Republican. I oversee not a district, but the county in its entirety. So the at-large overseeing 1.3 million people, all 730 square miles of our county. That's my role. So it's a unique role where I have to traverse, the far reaches of Cheswick and Monroeville, and then in a moment's notice, going over to Bridgeville or Swickley, up on the opposite side. So I won't say in a moment's notice, that's too dramatic, but that's my territory. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to learn more about the county, learn more about the people. And, at the core of it, our job is to serve. That's it. Our job is to serve them. Not our special interests, not our own interests, and not for our entertainment. It's to basically, do the hard thing. And people have often asked, like, well, why the hell would you want to do this? You have, a lovely family, beautiful family. You have a lovely home in a nice area, Mount Lebanon. You have an amazing career. Why the heck are you wanting to do this? You're not doing it for the money. And, there's some things that are really compelling me to do it. It's not because I'm using it as a stepping stone to do another office. It's not it. I really don't endeavor to do another office. That could change because sometimes this politics thing can be a drug. It lures you in. But right now, I just want to do a great job. I want to serve the people where I believe they're not being well served. We raised taxes. Well, I didn't. The previous, last year, they raised them nearly 40%. And that's hurting people. And they're going to have to raise them again. That's not really appropriate or acceptable. We have health and human services that are vastly underfunded. My wife's a physician and she's in specialty care facilities and nursing homes. I get to see from a clinical standpoint what she deals with. We're dealing with it at scale at the county level, and it's sad. I think you're going to start seeing news as recent as today from the Kane Hospital system. It's not really well known, but it's going to be coming out, and you're going to hear and read things that are just going to your head's going to spin. And I know we can do better. I know we can serve better because how I've watched the service go is, I hate Trump, so I'm just going to hate you. For what reason? Republicans have horns and fangs, and left-wing Democrats, they don't know what's going on. They don't understand how to govern, and it's just all this constant mudslinging. So I'm here because I know I've risen above it. It's not who I am at baseline, so I'm not gonna lean into it. Trust me, I have advisors and I have consultants and I have people from present and past in politics who are telling me and basically scripting me to be a certain way, and I'm not taking the bait. And guess what? My way works because it's me.
Well, I was going to say, be you, because I think the average person is going to appreciate that far more. There's enough scripted politicians out there, and to your point, we fail as a nation when we've become a not just two-party system, but a two-party system that is essentially in a political war right now, and in some ways it is spilling over. And that doesn't get better unless people say, you know what, I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to play your reindeer games anymore. I'm going to try to do the right thing. But you know what, I'll also throw something at you. You know what, you do the right thing. And if the people don't reelect you, then you know what, you have the government that you deserve. So don't complain. When you didn't, I ran. I was an honest person. I tried to do the right thing, and you didn't want me. To your point, maybe you don't like the letter that's by my name. So I'm going to vote this way because it's got this letter, and I'm not going to vote that way because it's got that letter. Meanwhile, Rome is burning, but at least it's not that letter by their name.
Yeah,
and that's the insanity of the country, that people become so beholden to the D or the R instead of saying, wait a minute, is this working what I'm doing? And we just can't get out of that trap. And that's why you have to just do the right thing and hope enough people figure it out and say, you know what, I need to get out of the us versus them mentality, or it never gets better. And by the way, another kind of thought, I'm a student of history, and I think if you go back and you go look at some of the great empires, there was a time when people thought they could never be beaten. It's going to last forever. And you know what? Now you are visiting their ruins. Go back to the Romans. You can go back to the British Empire. Remember, the Soviet Union isn't that long. The Soviet Union, the mighty, powerful Soviet Union. Look at them. So and the reason I say that is kind of a cautionary tale, because there's nothing that guarantees America's going to be here 50 or 100 years from now. And unfortunate reality is that people want that. They want to destroy this country for whatever reason. And I think if the rest of the country doesn't wake up and realize that we could easily fall into the same place as empires and civilizations past. We're not guaranteed survival. And the only way we do that is to get above the us versus them inside of our own borders and realize that somebody is causing this us versus them. And until we wake up to that, you'll never get progress. You'll never truly fix problems, because even if I have the answer, I don't like you so much that I don't even want to listen to you. But I have the answer to cure cancer. Yeah, but you're one of them. And so you're bad. And that's what we're becoming. So that's my tirade, Mike. And apparently I've left you speechless. So listen.
I'm sorry. I gotta interject. I preach, brother. What you just said is, I'm not from here. This is not my this is my adopted hometown now, right? I grew up a Browns fan, and by default that makes me even more evil. But I could tell you that I've thrown my stuff in the trash over the last couple of weeks.
I'm still not convinced Tomlin's that good either. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, neither am I. Listen, neither am I. But I want my children to stay here because this is my home. I want them to stay here long after college because this is our home. And what fuels me to participate in our government is people ask me, I don't know if I should say his name or not, but people ask me why I got involved a couple years ago in politics. And it was because, first I had a kid, and secondly, I named the person's name. And I don't want to name his name because they'll give him credit. They said, "Oh, you're friends with him?" I'm like, "No, he just kept losing. "Oh, so you're not friends?" I'm like, "No, I'm not friends. In fact, I think his politics are abysmal. I just think that he was a bad representative of our region, and we can do better." Because it was just this game. And, it's like the old adage in the Batman movie, some people can see the forest through the trees, and some people just want to see the forest burn. And I see that firsthand. I've been on council for 10 months now. I've learned more in the past 10 months than I knew in the previous 10 years of being on the outside, working on campaigns and going to the dinners and the PA societies and all this other stuff. There is a weird mix that occurs that people just don't necessarily realize, but yet, given the letter after somebody's name, it's like they're the second coming of Christ. I assure you that once we get through November 4th, and I hope that I'm victorious, that we're going to realize that we have big problems in our region. They're huge. And they should not be R versus D problems. They should just be viewed as right versus wrong. And it's going to take real pros and real passionate people to help cure that. And that's why I'm in the game, boys. If I can inspire 4 or 5 really, really good people to run for office and to get in, and then I can just go away, that means I've done my job. Right? It's like I treat it like I treat my company. If I can hire people smarter than me, which is always my objective, and then coach them up to take my job, I have done my damn job.
Well, you're not insecure, because people that won't do that are usually insecure in themselves.
Very insecure. Mike, I believe that people buy the vacuum cleaner salesman, not just the vacuum cleaner. And I wanted people to know who you were. And you know what, like I said at the beginning, you're a great guy, and I wish you all the best in politics and business, and of course, first and foremost, with your family. Look forward to seeing you soon. I appreciate you, and best of luck. And anything we can do, we're here for you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work. Hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, brother.
See you guys. Bye.
All right, Claudio. I actually like him, and I think that was a good interview. No, it was he seems like it. He seems very genuine. And, and we try and stay apolitical on the show, but to his point, it's not about right versus left. It's about right versus wrong. And I think the problem is there's too many people that, they see politicians getting very, very wealthy in office, and it's almost become a career instead of a calling. And I think that's absolutely hurting the nation. But Claudio, before I'm going to do one little pitch for me. Folks, if you have not had a chance to see Fidelta, Soldier Prisoner, it is available on Amazon Prime. I encourage you. We just had the 80th anniversary. It was such an honor to, welcome all those families of the prisoners back to the United States. And I really encourage you to go watch the film. And I think we're going to be looking to do something again in the near future. So hope you get a chance to watch it. And I have a new documentary coming out in December. More to follow, but going over there to Italy to film and meet these folks, and even filming here and meeting family members, people that have lived history. Claudio, it is such an honor, and I hope people watch it and really enjoy it. But as always, we want to thank our guests, especially folks from all over the world who are giving us the time, and spending time with us. We do appreciate that. Believe it or not, Claudio knows, I look at the stats. I look at where people are actually logging in from, and there are so many countries. I am like just blown away that there are people coming we come from Ukraine, Russia, Brazil, Australia, Singapore. You name a country, and there are people logging in to listen to us. So it is such a wonderful. So again, thank our folks up in Canada as well. We got a lot of listeners coming in from Canada, from Australia. So we're really humbled and appreciative of it. Again, the fact that you stopped what you're doing to listen to us, we absolutely are so thankful for that. And Claudio, I always want to give you the last word.
We appreciate you. And Steve, thank you for everything. And again, we appreciate all our listeners. And as always, thank you, Mom and Pop. Talk to you soon.